Initialization parameters are specific to solid or common to all solids? Initialization parameters are specific to solid. Context parameters are common to all solids. See, in login and registration application, initialization parameters are configured. Now, in that program, in that application, two solids are there. Login solid, registration solid. Now, configuring initialization parameters better or initial context parameters better? Context parameters. Because only one time you can initially configure, two times you can access. See, I'll show you. Yesterday, initialization parameter nodes are given, context parameter nodes also are given. See, now I want to configure context parameters. Nodes are given, no? Whatever we configured here, these all init param, nothing but initialization parameters. Now, context parameter, if you want to configure, what are the tags required? Given nodes, context param, param name, param value. So, just same, little bit different. I'll remove this. I'll cut here. I'll paste here. Now, I removed from here. I placed it here. Just tag names are somewhat different. Here, context. Okay. Here, context. Here, context. Init place context remaining same. See, init place context. Over. Now, these parameters you can access in login solid also, you can access in registration solid also, because context parameters are common to all solids in a WAR file. So, these parameter, now driver, URL, username, password, these four we can access in all solids. Now, in this application, two solids are there. In two solids we can access. Now, for retrieving context parameters, I given methods. Which is the method? What is the method name? Get init parameter. Get init parameter method in which interface? Solid context. Now, for getting solid context, which method you have to call? I given that one also. For getting solid context, get solid context. Get solid context method in which class? Generic solid. Can we create generic solid object? No, we cannot create. Okay, because it is abstract class. Generic solid class inherited in registration solid by using registration solid object. By using registration solid object, can I call generic solid method? By using registration solid object, can I call generic solid method? Yes or no? Yes. Registration solid object, who will create? Registration solid object, who will create? Web container. That object, if you want to access, how will access? By using this keyword. By using this keyword. No. By using this keyword, we can access. What we have tried, give me answer. The method I want to call, what we have tried. Return type, solid context. Something SC equal to. This is implicitly comes. No need to write. So what did I write? Get solid context. So here this implicitly comes because it is instance method. Inside the instance method, this keyword implicitly comes. When we are to write explicitly, if local variable, instance variable names are same, in that situation we are to write. Now this implicitly comes. With that this refers current object. Current object nothing but registration solid. Okay. Now with that we are calling. We are getting context. With this SC, can I call get init parameter? Yes. Just we need to remove config. Here we are to write SC. Okay. Over. The program is over. That's it. Yesterday program, today program, little different. Their initialization parameter, here context parameter. Initialization parameter, config required. Context parameter, context required. Now, solid context. Control shift to O. That is important. Now here, I'll run this. See, run on server. Save. Tomcat. Next. Login. Finish. Here. Homepage.html. First of all, I'll open command that is SQL prompt. Here, how many records are there? See. Three records are there. Now, registration. Now, triple D. If I click on submit button, so in the solid config also, one get solid context is there. 1 minute. We have this type also. One more way also is there. I'll show you. We have another init method also is there without parameter. Then it works. Then it works. Two different ways possible. Either init without parameter you have to write. See. Now also it works. It is one more way. Two ways are there. Both I'll show you. I'll explain. See, this get solid context method available in generic solid also, available in config also, available in config also. Like this also we can access, like that also we can access. Now registration solid, this is. I'll open login solid. Here. Here also you can use same. Now configuration one time, accessing two times, possible. So two ways possible, with config also possible. Config contains same method. If you want to use with config, solid context sc equal to config dot get solid context. That is also method is there. Now with this also possible. String s1 equal to solid context dot get init parameter. Parameter is s1. No, sorry, driver. Like this, string s2 equal to solid config dot get init parameter URL. String s3 equal to sc dot get init parameter. Are you understanding what I'm doing? Any doubt in this? Password. These parameters, what are these parameters? Driver, URL, user, password. Context parameter, not request parameter. Request parameter means HTML. These are context parameters. These all available in XML. From XML, I am retrieving now. For calling this, for retrieving these all, get init parameter method required. That is available in solid context. For getting solid context, one way with config you can call this method. One more way, this, by using this also possible. Two ways are there. See, now it is also works. Here we have driver S1. Here S2, S3, S4. Now right click, run as, run on server, save. Restart. See here first, how many records are there? See, 5 records are there. Here homepage.html. Now registration. 6th record. 6th record I'm inserting. Submit button. Okay. Here you have registered successfully. You can check it out. Okay. There what I written with context, generic solid context I used. Login. Here I used solid config context. It is also working now. Two different ways I have shown. Just note down. There are two ways to get solid context. there are two ways to get solid context. One is by calling get solid context method of generic solid. Second one, by calling get solid context method of solid config. So two different ways. By calling get solid context method of generic solid class, by calling get solid context method of solid config interface. First one, example. First one, by calling get solid context method of generic solid class. By calling get solid context method of generic solid class. Example, I'll give. Is it over? Now, this is. Complete program, no need to write, because only init method I changed. No done. Service method, no need to write because same code. No, I didn't change. Just after this dash dash, close. Because same code, I didn't change. Over. Where is driver class? Web.xml. Port number you change to 8005. Now, login solid year. Year I given another way with config. So, second way. Second way, note down. By calling get solid context method of solid config interface. Example. Second way, note down. You copy OJDBC 8 underscore G dot jar file in Tomcat lib. By calling get solid context method of solid config interface. By calling get solid context method of solid config interface. It's one more way. It is one more way like. So here also solid context, there also solid context, but two ways are there. After this, just a dash write it because the remaining code change, no change as it is. Yeah, I'll show you. Is it over? Now web.xml. Note down this one also. Context parameters here you are right. After that, login, registration, the description not compulsory, optional. Display name not compulsory, optional. Description, display name not compulsory. Over. Right, this one. It is web.xml. So parameters you have to configure like this with context param, but it should be outside the solid configuration. See here, yesterday what we written, after this line we written yesterday. After this line we written, but now before solid only you write because these are common to all. These parameters are common to all solids. That is the reason outside. Noted. So the location also important. Where we have to configure also important. Other place if you write error comes. So what is the difference between generic solid, HDP solid? That is also how to explain, not completed. After this concept, forwarding, including redirecting. In that situation, compulsory HDP solid only we have tried. At the time, I'll explain the difference between generic solid, HDP solid. Is it over? Yesterday program, initialization parameters. Today program, context parameters. Over? See, note on initialization parameters versus context parameters. Initialization parameters versus context parameters. Initialization parameters versus context parameters. See, XML file here in this program, how many times we configured? How many times we configured? One time. How many times we used it? Two times we used it. In login solid also we used it. Registration solid also we used it. But one time configured. No. Because yesterday different, today different. No. Initialization versus parameters versus context parameters. One side initialization parameters. One more side context parameters. Initialization parameters are specific to, first this one write it. Initialization parameters are used to initialize solid. Context parameters are also used to initialize solid. So purpose is same. Initialization parameters are used to initialize solid. Context parameters are also used to initialize solid. Initialization parameters are specific to solid. Context parameters are common to all solids in a web application. Nothing but .war file. Initialization parameters are specific to solid. Context parameters are common to all solids in a web application. Next. Initialization parameters are specific to solid. Context parameters are common to all solids in a web application. Okay. Next, to configure initialization parameters, we use init param, comma, param name and param tags, param value tags in web.xml. To configure initialization parameters, we use init param, param name and param value tags in web.xml. To configure context parameters, we use context param, comma, param name and param value tags in web.xml. To configure initialization parameters, we use init param, param name and param value tags in web.xml. To configure context parameters, we use context param, param name and param value tags in web.xml. So only one tag name is different. Only one tag name is different. To retrieve initialization parameters from web.xml to solid, we use get init parameter method of solid config interface. To retrieve context parameters from web.xml to solid, we use get init parameter method of solid context interface. Is it over? Initialization parameters, context parameters. See, what is the purpose of these two? Initialization. Same purpose. Purpose is same. Initialization means not only integer x equal to 10. Drive connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection also initialization only. Their connection established. No? Connection established. How many times established? One time. Initialization done one time only. That is connection variable also initialization only. Like integer x equal to 10, it is primitive data type. Connection con nothing but reference data type. That means it is also initialization. So initialization purpose we use. Initialization parameter also, context parameters also, both are same purpose. Purpose is same. But what's the difference? This is one solid, specific to solid. It is common to all solids. Suppose 10 solids are there. For 10 solids you required, better to go for context parameter. One time you configure, 10 times you can use. But here 10 times you have to configure. That is the problem. Configuration little different. Just init param different, here context param. Here method name same, but interface different. Okay. These are the differences between initialization parameters and context parameters. Is it over? Solid context implemented, solid config implemented, solid request implemented, solid response implemented in different server, different classes. That clarity already given. Because Tomcat vendor, one set of classes. WebLogic vendor, one more set of classes. Which class we cannot predict. If you want to see the class name, that reference is there, no, we can print. We'll get it class name. But that output different, servers different, name comes. Next. Solid config versus solid context. Solid config versus solid context. One side solid config. One more side solid context. It is an interface. It is also an interface. It contains get init parameter method it contains get init parameter method and it can be used to get initialization parameters. From web.xml. It is also contains get init parameter method and it can be used to get context parameters from web.xml. It contains get init parameter method and it can be used to get initialization parameters from web.xml. It is also contains get init parameter method and it can be used to get context parameters from web.xml. You already studied when Solid config created. Whenever init method is called. When Solid context created. Whenever web application is deployed. Write that one also. Solid config is created by web container whenever init method is called. Solid context is created by web container whenever web application is deployed on server. Solid config is created by web container whenever init method is called. Solid context is created by web container whenever web application is deployed on server. Okay. Web container creates Solid config one per Solid. Here, web container creates Solid context one per web application. Web container creates Solid config one per Solid. Web container creates solid context, one per web application. Suppose in a WAR file, 10 solids are there. How many config created? How many contexts created? 10 created configs. Context, 1 created. It is about config and context initialization parameters and context parameters. Okay. Now, is it over? What is configuration? Means server understandable format. Suppose this in this program, what we configured? In this program, what we configured? Driver, URL, user, password. These 4 I configured. Now, what is the benefit with this yesterday program and today program? What is the benefit with this program is, if you want to change the database, is it required to change solid? No. That is. So, for that, whatever parameters required, that is we are configuring to understandable format in XML. That is configuration like. So, server understandable format, we are going to configure. See, for example, if you want one laptop or desktop, you'll go to one computer shop, they'll ask. You'll ask one laptop or desktop. What they'll ask? So many computers are there, so many desktops are there, so many laptops are there. They'll ask about your configuration. What you want? They'll ask. How much GB RAM required? How much hard disk capacity required? That is all whatever required for laptop. That is your giving configuration. According to your configuration, he'll give a laptop. Because only laptop, if you ask, hundreds of laptops are there. Hundreds of desktops are there. According to your requirement, they are providing. Here also, according to our requirement, server will provide. That is configuration. Now, I want to execute first solid. We are writing URL pattern test. But test means first solid. How it will understand? With configuration. That is. Okay. Next concept. Solid forwarding. Solid forwarding. Next concept. Solid forwarding. Specification means rules and guidelines. Configuration different, specification different. Now, solid forwarding. Forwarding request and response of one solid into another solid is called as solid forwarding. Forwarding request and response of one solid to another solid. Forwarding request and response of one solid to another solid is called as solid forwarding. See, concept name is solid forwarding, but solid is not forwarded. Request response only forwarded. That is called solid forwarding. Okay. So forwarding request and response of one solid to another solid is called as solid forwarding. But what is the use of this one? I'll explain. First, how to forward, I'll show you. See, concept name is solid forwarding. But solid forwarding means total solid is forwarded. Don't think like that. What is forwarded? Request response. In a service method, request response created, no? That is passed to another solid. That is forwarding. But what is the need of this one and how to forward? I'll show you. Now, first of all, see the diagram. Suppose it's a web server. Web server. Here, web client. It's a web client. Web client. Okay. In this web server, solids like first solid, second solid. This is third solid. Like this, we have solids. First solid, second solid, third solid. See, it is first solid. It is second solid. It is third solid. Okay. Now, here, code, solid code. Suppose last line you written forward. Last line you written forward. Forwarding request and response to second solid you written. Here also last line you written forward. You written like this. Okay. Now from browser window, you'll type here like this. HTTP localhost 8080 var file name, suppose forward. URL pattern of first solid first. Then my request password to this solid. This request type is called HTTP request. Okay. Now you observe in a web server, 3 solids are there. In a first solid last line, I written forward code to forward second solid. In second solid last line, I written code to forward request and response to third solid. Like that code I written. Here, if I send request to first solid, what will be happen is first solid program executed. After executing, it is forwarded to second solid. Then second solid also executed, forwarded to third solid. From third solid, response comes. This response we are calling like a HTTP response. Now, if you write forward, this will be happen. Now, I send request to which solid? First solid. Response coming from which solid? Third solid. Total how many solids executed? 3 solids. I send request to only 1 solid, but 3 solids executed, we got output. But this information browser doesn't know. Browser knows only 1 solid because I send request to first solid. Browser, what it will understand? It is response from first solid only, it will understand. It doesn't know. We'll send the request to first solid, output comes. Once output comes, what it will understand? This output from first solid only it will understand. It doesn't know second, third. Okay. So when this concept required is, if the task is very big, suppose in core Java, are you writing complete code in main method only in core Java class? No. You are writing some other methods also. You are writing your task code in other methods. You are calling from main. Main compulsory you are writing in core Java because the program running under OS. OS knows only main. From main method you are calling other methods. And other classes also you are writing. Okay. So instead of writing complete code in a main method, the task you are dividing into number of methods. Number of classes also you can divide. Like that you are dividing. But here, instead of writing complete code in one solid, we'll write in 3-4 solids. If the task is very big, then instead of writing complete code in a one solid, you can write some code, you can forward to second. Second also you can write third. Third also you can write 4, 5th, like that in number of. But at last task is finished. Instead of writing complete code in a one solid, we'll write in 2-3 solids. But if the task is only 5 lines, 10 lines is there. Suppose 3 lines here, 3 lines here, 4 lines here, you should not write. Memory wasted, process wasted, and burden to server. Okay. So if the task is very big, in that situation only you have to select this concept. Otherwise, if the task is divided into 2-3 modules, then 3 modules are there. Then 3 solids write. If the task is divided into 10 modules, 10 solids write. Situation, you have to select properly. Now, but here what browser knows this response from first solid only, like that it will understand, because it doesn't know. I send request to first solid, we got an output. See, for example, if I give one task to you, what you will do is, you will do something, you will do some part, you will assign to other person. Other person will assign to other person. Other person will assign to other person. At last you will bring. What I'll understand, you completed, I'll understand. But you assign to other person assigned to other person. At last you completed. But what I'll understand is you completed, I'll understand. Here also, instead of giving complete burden to one solid, one program, we'll make it divide into number of solids. Okay. Suppose, for example, previous program only. Login solid task you have seen. Login solid, what it will do? First, it will check in a database. Given username, password is there or not. If it is there, welcome message. If not there, invalid username, password. Suppose, given username, password is there. Instead of welcome, I want to display mailbox. Instead of welcome, I want to display mailbox. Then mailbox code. Instead of writing in login solid, write in another solid, you forward. Then instead of writing in a one solid, you can divide task into 2 solids. You can forward to other solid. Okay. Like if rs.next, we return welcome. Instead of writing welcome there, you transfer forward to other solid. You transfer control to other solid. There you write other task. If you write like that, what will happen? Updation maintenance becomes easy. Login solid, only responsible checking username, password is there or not. Other solid responsible to load mailbox. That type better, no? So here one solid will check only username, password is there or not. One more servlet will load the mailbox. That type. At that time, we can do this concept. Okay. This is forwarding. Note down.